What's going on, Huckberry family? It's Joe Yoon, author of Better Stretching and Massage Therapist to the Pros. And today I'm going to show you how to survive the desk life or the laptop life. Maybe you're hunched over all day, got to get those reports done for the boss you do not like, or maybe you just have hours of video editing that you have to get done. I have a few tips that I love to show my clients on how to feel less tense during this time, and then also a little bit more pain-free too. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. Tip number one is moving often, and it's going to be a common theme in this video, and each tip is going to have some sort of movement component within it. And the reason why is that sitting isn't inherently bad. I don't know about you, but I've been sitting my whole life and felt pretty good my whole life. It's just in this certain situation where I'm on my laptop, I'm hunched over for hours, and I just start feeling the effects. Because usually it's probably something stressful you're working on, it's work. So what I'm gonna do is show you some tips on basically moving around different ways. And within this first tip, I'm gonna show you two different ways. And the first way is make sure you have a nice big glass of water next to you and start drinking that while you're working. Number one, you're going to be hydrated, which is a great benefit. But number two, you're going to have to go number one, and you're going to have to stand up, go to the bathroom, and that gets you out of this seated position, which is key. We always want to start moving around, and that's a great way because it's going to force you to get up. Another tip for moving around is something what I like to call Pomodoros. So it's actually a technique called Pomodoros where you do 25 minutes of work and then you do a 5-minute break, and then you just rinse and repeat for 4 rounds, and then you take an extended break. And again, this helps with kind of batching my work, but it gets me out of this position every pretty much half hour. And let's say you're in the zone, you're in that flow state and you don't want to get up, then at 15 minutes, take a 10-minute break. You can always play around with it. And that's what I love to do to start moving around, and that's tip number one. Tip number two is moving positions. And tip number one, we're moving around, we're getting up, walking around a little bit, getting us out of this seated position when we're not working. But when we're working, we can actually change our positions. And one very popular way is getting a stand-up desk, which has been very popular recently. And I think they're great, but I also don't like to stand up that often when I'm getting work done. So sometimes I'll switch from standing to a seated position, but I also like to do something called a kneeling position. So you grab a pad, you place it down on the ground, half kneeling position, one knee on the ground, one leg out in front, and then we can also get work in this position. So now one of our hips is actually extended, which is really nice. We get out of this flex position, and you know, our laptop is probably a little bit closer to eye level too, so it's not too shabby. And then we can just switch legs, and then we can go back into a seated position, and then we can go into a standing position if we have a stand-up desk. So again, you don't need all three, but again, moving around during your work session can be great, and it can be very beneficial for the body. So that is tip number two, and let's go into our last tip. And finally, the last tip, tip number three, is stretching at your desk. So we're moving around, we're standing up, we're changing positions while we're working, but maybe we just need a little bit extra to make us feel a little bit better, and we are going to stretch at our desk. One of the big things is stretching is great, so we can actually just stand up and stretch. We can also sit down and stretch. So it's very versatile, you can do it wherever you want. And I'm gonna show you just two of my favorite ones. And the first one is a cat-cow, but we're in a seated position. So what we're going to do is place our hands on the desk, and similar to the yoga cat-cow, we're gonna round our back and then arch our back. So we're going to tuck our chin and push away from the desk, getting some good flexion in our spine. And then from here, we're going to look up and then drive your chest forward, trying to arch your back backwards, so getting some great extension in our back. And then we'll just rock back and forth, just like this. And it already feels great because when we're sitting and working, we're usually locked in this position with our shoulders rolled forward, our spine is flexed a little bit, and then it just gets kind of sticky there, it gets stuck. So we wanna work through that motion and get that feeling good and moving a little bit better. Another one that I really like to do is a little bit of a side bend. So what I'll do is take one hand, bring it over here. If you have a chair with a handle, it's great to place your hand right on that handle, and then arm comes up and then just over to the side. we get a really good straight stretch on the side of our body, but also down into our low back, that QL muscle that will probably get a little cranky if you're sitting for long periods of time. So arm here, reach over, and then you can switch sides. For reps, I'm a big fan of just doing 5 to 10 reps, get you feeling good, get back to work, and nice and quick and easy. So hopefully those tips helped you to help you survive the desk life, the laptop life. And let me know if you have any comments down below if you want more information on this type of stuff, and definitely willing to do a video. And appreciate it, Huckberry fam. I'll see you soon.